Sup guys, welcome back to another Lil Maguizy video on the Lil Maguizy channel. I am your host, Lil Maguizy. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a god, his ex, fight a man who hates gods. Let's do it, shall we? Thor Love and Thunder, starring Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher, Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, Taika Waititi as the director and Korg, with Russell Crowe as Zeus, and Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. So basically this shit starts off with Gore with his daughter who is dying apparently, and so Gore goes up to this dude for help and tries to say, he's a disciple, all that other stuff, but then the dude doesn't give him eternity because apparently that's what Gore wants. So Gore kills him and he makes a vow, and his vow is all gods will die, and he legit slices his head off. How fun, what a great start. Meanwhile, Thor is just chilling, just chilling with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because they're also in this for like 2 minutes, And then Korg explains all the hardships that Thor went through. And then, Star-Lord and Mantis, they come up and, they go fight some people, and they also have goats too. And so then, eventually the Guardians, they fly off on their own adventure. We'll probably see them in a future movie or something. Don't know. Yeah. And so Thor and Korg are just, and then, meanwhile, they find out that there's a god who's not a god, who's murdering people. And apparently, meanwhile back to Earth, apparently Jane has cancer now, which is, how'd she get that? I don't know. Is it a thing in the comics? I don't know. I don't read the comics. Reading's for losers, am I right? Sorry. Yeah, so she has cancer, and then, meanwhile back on New Asgard, King Valkyrie, since she's now a king apparently, don't know why she's a queen, yeah, starts, doing shit. And then, meanwhile, there's like an exhibit where they can see Thor's broken hammer that Hela destroyed, and Jane's there, and she looks ill, like any cancer patient does. I'm not a fan, whatever, just stop, anyway. And so, meanwhile the hammer starts moving, and then Thor and Korg find out that this dude is legit murdering all the gods there is. And so Thor finds his old friend Sif, don't know if you remember her, and she explains that Gore is murdering gods, so they go do that. And then meanwhile Gore kidnaps all the children, and Thor and Valkyrie's there, and then there's a hammer that's been thrown, and some woman takes the hammer, and her name is Mighty Thor, and Thor's just confused. He's like, why is she taking my identity? And it turns out to be Jane, who's much more bulkier now than usual. Well, not really, I don't know, yeah. And then, Gore runs away with the children, and then, so Jane joins Thor, I guess, and Korg explains the backstory between them two, and why they broke up and other shit like that, you know what I mean? And then, meanwhile, Jane goes to the bathroom, and then she goes back to her normal self, where she's all, ill, and the sink breaks, so, yeah. So Valkyrie comes in and gives her a speaker, so yeah, and then Jane, Thor, Valkyrie, and Korg, they go on a wee adventure to some planet with Zeus, and he gets kidnapped, and then Thor gets, caught, and then Zeus flicks him open, his shit open, and then Thor's completely naked, and he has a tattoo on his back that has all the people that he lost, like, his mum, his dad, Iron Man, Black Widow, Loki. He even has a tattoo that says "Rip Loki." And so meanwhile, Thor has this lightning bolt thing, and then Thor throws it at Zeus, potentially killing him. And then they go fly off, and then Jane tells Thor that she has cancer, and it turns out that every time Jane uses the hammer and every time she's in her mighty Thor self, she drains her energy and she becomes more weaker. I'm so thirsty. Note to self, don't drink after you brush your teeth. Anyway, so then they go find Gore. Then Gore legit just traps them, and then Gore tells Thor to call his axe. And so then Gore notices that Jane is dying. So they eventually go fight Gore, and then they go back to Earth, and Gore takes Stormbreaker. And so then they go back on Earth, and Jane is, she's probably dying this time. She's dying. So Thor brings her to the hospital. And then, if she uses the hammer one more time, then that's it for her. And then, Thor and Valkyrie, they go and... I think just Thor. I don't know about Valkyrie. They go and fight Thor. Actually, no, Valkyrie's injured. So Thor goes and fight Gore and lets the children have Thor's power for a limited time. And then they go and try and fight Gore, and then Jane, she is sitting in the hospital, and then she picks up the hammer and goes to Thor, and she is aware that it's the end for her. And then, they go and fight Gore, and then Jane goes like, "Eat my hammer," which is, I don't know, yeah. And so, they go and fight Gore, then Gore opens Eternity, and then they go up to Eternity. Thor, Jane, and Gore, they go up to Eternity, and then Gore's just sitting there, and then Thor's like, "Gore, stop! I know you're pain, but this isn't the way." And then, Gore gets his daughter back, apparently. Then he looks at Thor and Jane, and then Jane, in her last moment, Thor and her kiss, because, and then Jane vanishes away. So Jane's gone, another tragedy to Thor. So then Gore is sitting there upset because Thor, love is much more powerful. And so then Gore dies, and his daughter is just sitting there. So then Thor takes in his daughter now. So Thor has adopted Gore's daughter now, and she drew all over his hammer. There's a statue for Jane now, and then Korg, he reads, narrates the end, and then Thor and Gore's daughter, I think her name is Love, they go, so Love uses the hammer, and Love uses the axe, and Thor uses the hammer, and then they go and fight the bad guys, and then boom, that's it. After credits scene time, Zeus is apparently not dead, and so then some dude comes up and says, "Love of thunder," you say. So yeah, other after credit scene, Jane is in Valhalla now, and Heimdall's there, and that's it, pretty much, yeah. Also, the credits is like this really cool 80s theme with Sweet Child of Mine playing, because it's like the main song of this whole movie. It's a good song, by the way. Yeah. Overall thoughts, it's actually really good. I don't know why people hate it so much. I think the reason people hate it because like too much jokes in it. That's the whole reason why people hated The Dark World, because Thor is too serious, and then now people hate him. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I think I prefer this over Ragnarok. Yeah. So yeah, we are back on our MCU reviews. Well, not really, because it's been a couple months since this came out, so I decided to do a review on that. and there's another one coming out in a couple months, so I'll do a review on that when it comes out. So yeah, join me next time for that. But until then, goodbye.